Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Sapient Thoughts, where we discuss theo-philosophical issues, we make an argument for Islam, and we refute those specious claims made by the detractors of Islam. So let's take a look at what they say. They look at chapter 67 verse 5, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحٍ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينَ, where it says that we have thereby adorned the Sama' dunya, the worldly heaven, with luminaries, and we have made them pelting things for the devils. And they say this means, or how could this be the case, they question. They say, how could it be that you have these luminaries in the sky that are pelting devils? This is very unscientific, they say. And moreover, they would go and say that it's probably the case that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he confused between the meteors, which are very small in size and composition, and stars, because when they may have seen shooting stars, they thought that they were actual stars, and therefore they argue this is showing you the unscientific nature of the authorship of the Quran. These are really the two arguments that are being made. And let's be honest, the first argument is a foolish argument, because science is predicated on methodological naturalism. So what they're doing is a category mistake fallacy. They're using something which is predicated on methodological naturalism to attempt to detect that which is clearly in the realms of the metaphysical, which is in this case the devil. The devil, the jinn, the angels, the heaven, hell, all of those things are seen as metaphysical things which are not meant to be detected or tappable by the scientific enterprise, by the five senses. And thus, the first part of their argument is actually shame on them, really, for having this limited knowledge on this kind of thing, and entering an arena of polemics with this limited knowledge and embarrassing themselves and everybody else. But even more embarrassing is the fact that they are making this supplementary argument now that, well, the Prophet Muhammad must have been confusing between the meteors and the celestial spheres, the moon, the sun, the stars, all those things. All of them are in one category for the Prophet, and therefore he couldn't distinguish between a small rock-sized meteor and a huge star. And obviously this is a foolish understanding. Actually, it's a foolish understanding of the verse itself, because chapter 65 verse 5, according to Ibn Kathir, he says, Ibn Kathir, who's a medieval scholar and exegete of the Quran, one of the most prolific actually, he says it's not the misbah itself, it's not the star itself. And yes, he believes it is a star. The masabih are referring to a star, even though the word masabih is not synonymous with the word stars, because masabih means luminaries, things which illuminate in the sky, which could be anything. I mean, anything which illuminates from the anthropocentric perspective. Anything from our humanly perspective which illuminates in the sky could be a misbah, because misbah literally is a lamp. But Ibn Kathir takes the view it is the nujum, it is the stars, and he says actually it's not the star itself which is pelting the devil. He says it's not the star itself, but the solar flame which comes from the star. And you'll say, well, this is a long shot. How could he say that, and why would he say that? Well, actually, he was doing tafsir al-Quran bil-Quran, because he was exegeting the Quran with the Quran. Because if you look at chapter 38, verse number 10, it says, إِلَّا مَنْ خَطِفَ الْخَطْفَةَ فَأَتْبَعَهُ شِهَابٌ ثَاقِبٌ. It says, except for the one which follows it in course, and therefore it follows it, shihab, which is really a flame, thaqib. So here, this flame, shihabun thaqib, is correlated with what is mentioned in chapter 38 of the Quran, Surah As-Safat, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِزِينَةِ الْكَوَاكِبِ. We have therefore adorned the heavens with the zina, with the adornment of al-kawakib. Kawakib means, once again, it could mean stars. So here, if you correlate the two verses, it would suggest to us that actually it's not the star itself, but it's the shihab of the star. And you say, okay, well, I'm not convinced yet. Maybe that is the case, but I'm not convinced. Okay, if you're not convinced, no problem, because there's another hadith. This one's in Bukhari, where the Prophet himself, he said, رُبَّمَا. It could be the case, when he was talking to his companion, that devil is being pelted by shihab. Once again, shihab means a solar flame. So even if you look at the sunnah, the hadith, literature, once again, we realize that it's not the star itself, which is pelting the devil, but in fact it is the solar flame which is being emitted from the star, which is pelting the devil. And once again, you'll never be able to see this on a metaphysical perspective, but once again it shows the shallow research and the superficial reading, cursory reading, newspaper reading of those individuals to the Islamic literature. So this is an education for them, and inshallah it will be benefit for everybody else. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.